back to Storytime with Deb Booker. It's been a while. I do apologize for the delay. I had COVID and a few other problems, so feeling a little better now and definitely want to get these back going again. Last time we were reading from Time Is, the first book in the seven book series of Time Is novels. So today we're going to continue on with Sojourn the Second. And if we can, we'll get to the one after that, depending on how long this one runs. And we'll continue going. We'll do about 7 chapters and kind of get things really kind of involved here. And then we'll try a few of the other books and get you through some of these. I'm still looking for another new author to read from. So if you know of any, let me know. More than happy to help other struggling artists. Oh, by the way, all my books are now over on Draft to Digital, which also means they're on Amazon. They're on Barnes and Nobles and all the rest of these. But Draft to Digital, while it doesn't give you a lot as far as residual returns, does have a wide dispersal pattern. So you can definitely get these books just about anywhere online. Ebook, there is ebooks, hardcovers, and I am now working on getting them all set to audio as well. So I'm keeping the price down. I just want these read. So all right, let's get this. If I can get my computer to cooperate. There we go. So I've got what is wrong with this thing? There we go. There we go. Okay, we're ready to rock and roll. So Sojourn the Second from the Time Is novel. The quote is, "Creativity takes courage," by Henry Matisse. I knocked on the door before going in as I wasn't sure how Scott was feeling. "Don, please come in. No reason to knock. I'm very glad you're early today." He was grinning from ear to ear, and it worried me. I handed him his brunch and sat down at my desk and waited. "Don, you were worried about what happened yesterday, and I myself was perturbed," he said between bites. "As you said, though, it was not exactly your fault. We may have been partially responsible, but the fact that it happened proves that we had both gone back already and were simply fulfilling a pre-completed destiny, or at most adding to it. In either case, if you will pardon the expression, no harm was done." He looked a lot calmer today, so I kept my mouth shut and let him go on. "Today we embark on another great adventure." He waved his hand with the cup in the air, spilling some coffee on his sleeve. "Another chance at another place and time, and one which, if memory recalls correctly, will be of particular interest to you. Does the name Pétomane mean anything to you?" Found his smile worrying me, but not really. I seem to recall a Mel Brooks character named that from Blazing Saddles, but that was all I could remember. "Excellent. Then this will be quite the surprise for you." His smile broadened into one that reminded me of the Joker's. Scott has pulled a few practical jokes on me in the past when the humor was on him, but that hadn't happened in a while. What the hell is he getting me into now? I started to look up Pétomane on the computer when Scott yanked the cord from the wall. "Now don't go spoiling the surprise," he admonished me as he handed out a suit of French clothes. These looked almost normal, outdated, but just a dark suit. I put them on and grabbed a cape. I heard a long sigh from behind me. "Please take the cape off. That's from a different period," he said with his head in his hands. I placed the cape on the hook and wandered around as he put the final calculations into the machine. I decided to broach something that I had been thinking about since last night. "Scott, now that construction of this thing is finished, shouldn't I be going?" I asked a question that had to be asked, but kind of hoped he had other things for us to work on. He turned around and looked at me with a solemn expression. "Don, I'm hurt that you should ask. I assumed you not only enjoyed the work you were employed to do, but were happy here. I assumed I am happy here and enjoy working with you, but I wasn't sure that you needed me anymore. Hell, if he didn't need me anymore, I could just come by and hang out. In the years I had worked for him, he had paid me enough that I could rest comfortably for quite a while. He stood there with his chin resting on his chest, looking down at his feet. When he looked up, I was shocked to see the sadness in his eyes. Don, I have paid you well because you do what I need efficiently and quickly. You are intelligent, and it made me change my ideas several times. Not an easy task to do. I rely on you and I trust you. Never in all the time you have associated with me have I doubted your honesty and integrity. I never thought of you as an employee, but more considered you as a friend. I had hoped you had come to think of me as one as well. I felt my face grew red with embarrassment. I didn't have to think before replying. I guess I never really thought about it. I've never thought of you as anything but a friend. Yeah, the pay is great, but I never considered that as a reason to stay. I enjoy being here, enjoy the differences between ourselves. You know, we make a good team, and if you hadn't wanted me to work with you, I still would have come around just to hang out for the fun of it. A smile radiated on his face. Thank you. That was the warmest thing I have ever had said to me. With that, he turned back and finished his coordinates for tonight's excursion. You know, it occurred to me this morning that since we can set this to any time, we can arrive at the exact time we wish to instead or dallying in town, waiting for the doors to open for the show. Which would you prefer? He half looked over his shoulder as he asked, and I gave it some consideration. Well, I haven't been to France ever, so I wouldn't mind looking around and seeing some sights, even if we are seeing them from the past. Where are we starting from? He pointed on a small laminate map in front of him. The Arc de Triomphe. He spoke with a French accent. He can speak French, so we should be able to find our way about, but the only friend I know would get my face slapped. Yes, both checked each other's portable units. We will need to make some replacement units, both check, which we can carry with us in case of emergency. He straightened my tie and patted my shoulder. Let's be off. He entered the key into the control pad, and once more we stepped through to an early morning arrival. The Arc de Triomphe, is right in the middle of the street, or roundabout, and from a newspaper I found on the ground, it was the year 1893. So, where do we go from here? I asked as I looked around. It was far more open than I expected. We would be going to the Moulin Rouge, a little over 2 miles from here. 82 Boulevard des Clichy, to be exact. We should get to the Moulin Rouge in time for Pujol's afternoon performance. The weird smile came back on his face, and once again I was a little nervous about what he had in store for us. I thought you said we were going to see Le Pétomane, I said as we crossed the street. Pujol is his name. Le Pétomane is what he does. Just enjoy the stroll and don't worry. You will see all in good time. His body quivered with silent laughter. I gave up wondering and admired the sights. There were cars driving around, which I hadn't expected. I guess I assumed there would be nothing but horse-drawn carriages. The streets were tree-lined, and at this time in the morning, very few people were out walking. We walked for about a mile. We passed a few homes, but mostly open spaces, and stopped at a restaurant across from an incredible park. From what I could see of it, it had wonderful tree-lined paths, a pond, sculptures, even a miniature pyramid. I mulled over trying to talk Scott into spending a little time there. Excuse me. I do love tea. We sat at a center table looking over the park. When the waiter came by, Scott ordered for both of us. You know, I think a primary difficulty in being a time traveler is that you would have to learn quite a few languages, as language changes over time. From where I sat, I saw someone across the street bring out a large easel, canvas, and paints. I watched as he sketched the path and benches preparatory, I assumed, to painting them. I pointed him out to Scott. He took out his glasses and assumed a judicial pose. I believe that is Claude Monet. He painted the park for the first time in 1874 or thereabouts. I also believe this was one of his more regular haunts, as it was for a number of artists. I looked at Scott in surprise. I didn't know you knew so much about art, Scott. I wasn't really surprised, as Scott seemed to have a small smattering of knowledge on a wide range of subjects. So why not art as well? Well, in my youth, we didn't have much money. I spent a great deal of time visiting libraries, museums, and galleries. All in all, I feel I've acquired a very good education. I agreed with him. Our lunch arrived, a sumptuous affair of onion soup, ham and cheese sandwiches, a cheese and fruit platter, and something chocolate at the end, which I didn't recognize, can't pronounce, and absolutely loved. While we ate, he told me more about his time in the Air Force as a historian, as well as teaching history when he got out. He also had a few items he had designed and patented that earned him enough he could devote his time to his time machine. He often said that it is not the major events of history that fascinate me, but the small pleasures in daily life of people that I find of interest. Spend the remainder of my days walking amongst them, eating the same meals as they did, and seeing with my own eyes how they lived. That is my future. I must have looked wistful at the thought of traveling through time and just enjoying it, because he focused on me and gave me one of his warmer smiles. Any major or even minor undertaking is more pleasurable with a companion, and so long as I travel, you may accompany me. I tried to control my emotions, but let out a fairly loud hooray, I'm ashamed to say. Calm yourself, my boy. We don't want to draw attention to ourselves more than necessary. Lunch over, Scott led us across to the park. I hope you don't mind a small promenade through this delightful park. It will aid in digestion and provide a feast for the eyes. We walked amongst the gathering crowd of people enjoying the warm day. The park did not seem to be laid out in any particular fashion, but rather gave over to the wanderer mode of travel. Two roads allowed for car traffic, but the cars were going slowly and did not disrupt the serenity. We sat for a while near a curve in the path, inhaling the scents of flowers, fountains, and admiring the people. I thought about my visits to the parks around the apartment where I live, loud with music, people shouting into their phones, cars honking and speeding through. There was none of the peace that was here. I could have spent all day watching the stream of humanity walk by. Time we were on our way, Don. Scott rose, stretched, and gave his cane a tap. As we passed the artist, Scott raised his cap and bowed. Good day to you, Monsieur Monet. Bonsoir, monsieur, replied Mr. Monet. We set off to the Moulin Rouge. He looked a lot older than I would have expected, I remarked. I believe he will be alive quite a bit longer. Can't remember when he died, but I think it was sometime in the early 1900s. I looked it up later, and Claude Monet died in 1926, in case you're interested. We walked down in silence till we came to the Moulin Rouge. Scott pulled out a purse and handed out a Napoleon, a beautiful gold coin. They handed back his change and escorted us to a table. Did you know that the Moulin Rouge was also a brothel at this time? Apparently it was a place the rich could come and loosen their morals a little bit. The dancers were also the prostitutes. I guess you could say they used the dancing as a sales gimmick, showing off their wares. We drank some wine and watched the show, and all the time Scott had the same smile that worried me. It was as if he knew something surprising and exciting was coming. A short man sat down at our table, raised his hat, and said, Vous permettez? Scott extended his hand and said, S'il vous plaît. With a slight bow, the gentleman sat down. From a sitting position, you would never have guessed how short he was. Seems his legs were almost childlike, but his torso was normal. He sat there with a small sketchbook drawing the dancers. It was wonderful how quickly he could render a drawing. I noticed something familiar in the style as being the same as poster outside the building. That's when it hit me. This was Toulouse-Lautrec. I elbowed Scott a bit harder than I intended, and he spilled his drink down his chin. Yes, I know who he is, and there was no need to elbow me with such ferocity. Toulouse-Lautrec didn't seem to like the sketch he was doing and ripped it out of his pad. Yeah, I did take it. and I now have an authentic sketch straight from the artist. It isn't signed, and I don't think anyone would believe if I told them how I got it. Oh, got a joke for you. Did you ever hear about the new French Star Trek movie? It's about how they misplaced the Enterprise called Toulouse-Lautrec. Sorry, I couldn't resist that one. As an announcer came on stage and simply said, Monsieur Joseph Pujol, and the crowd went nuts. An elegantly attired gentleman came on stage and began his act. Scott was trying awfully hard to maintain his composure, but he looked like he was ready to bust. So the man on stage let loose a huge blast from his ass. La fanfare! He thus proceeded to perform an entire farmyard using his anus to create the animal noises. Scott was in a delirium, and I was laughing so hard I was in pain. Next, he inserted a tube in his backside and played music on an ocarina. La Marseillaise, I think. He did one set of a bride on her wedding night, which was short and high-pitched, and the morning after, which was long, low, and bass. Scott and I both were in tears by this time and started farting ourselves. Once we both let loose so long and loud that Miss Pujol stopped his act, pointed at us, and said, Messieurs, je n'ai pas descendre in telle compétition. I'll give you the translation because I screwed that up royally, I know. It means, out, gentlemen, I need no such competition. We got kicked out for out-farting a professional farter. Once outside, we both slid down the wall, holding our sides and laughing hysterically. It took a long while to catch our breath, and we sat there for about 20 minutes trying to get back our composure. Scott looked at me and said, I remembered this morning the time you brought me some chili and the after effects. Thought this might amuse you as it had then. He broke into a long, low laugh again. That's the funniest damn act I have ever seen and heard, I said, wiping my tears. Eventually, we settled down and found a secluded area, switched on the return, and walked back into the lab. I made some coffee, and we sat down and chatted for a while. Down tomorrow, I wanted to make a more unobtrusive return unit rather than the one that could be seen so easily. I queried quickly. Yeah, these could be pretty visible under the wrong circumstances, and the exposed parts could pretty easily be damaged. He held out his hand as I peeled the return from my torso. He looked them over. I can dismantle our 2 units and adjust for adding them to some sort of a, bracelet or something by tomorrow. Then we plan our next trip. Try and think of somewhere and someone you would like to go and see. I handed him my patch and went home. All the way home, I was cracking up thinking about Pujol's act. Hey, that's entertainment. I didn't sleep much that night. I got on my laptop and looked up some items on Pujol, Monet, and Toulouse. I made plans to visit the museums on my next day off. In the meantime, I tried to think of something I wanted to see. So that is the next chapter. The one after this is called Something Sphinx, S-P-H-I-N-X. And that's what we're going to be reading next. May be able to get 2 in, we'll try. So I appreciate you stopping by. All my books, as I said, are now on Draft Digital, which means you can still get them on Amazon, on Barnes & Noble, Draft Digital too. So do me a favor, look them up. I'm keeping the prices as low as possible. I don't make more than, I make less than $1 on these things. So I'm not doing this to get rich. But I am doing this because I love writing, and I really would appreciate if more people were reading them. So, read them, like them, I hope, and then write a critique. You can do that onto any of these sites, and I'd appreciate it. So look forward to seeing you again. I am back. Hopefully this thing will go better, and I'll look more like my normal self. So I really don't feel like myself anymore. So I look forward to seeing you again. Thank you again for visiting. Welcome back. And I will be doing these probably every day or 2, and we'll get back on track with going through these books. So thanks again. Have a good day, and be good to each other. Bye.